Good evening and welcome to Hello It's Us. Hello It's Us is dedicated to educating the general public about issues that are important to the disability community, and we operate under the premise that as you view these episodes of Hello It's Us, you will recognize that these very same issues are important to everyone, not just people with disabilities. Hello It's Us is brought to you through a collaboration between the University of Iowa Center for Disabilities and Development, our friends at Uptown Bill's Coffee Shop, and the good people here at Public Access TV. My name is Mike Hoenig, and I work at the University of Iowa Center for Disabilities and Development and serve as a co-host for Hello It's Us. Keith?
And my other co-host, I'm retired from the local independent living center, and I'm in the process of writing a book.
Well, that's excellent. Well, we are very pleased to have a guest back for part 2 in a series discussing voting, and specifically an organization called Iowa Disability Votes Count. Our guest is Reyma McCoy-McDeid. She is joining us all the way from Des Moines. So welcome back, Reyma, and thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back here.
Well, we talked extensively in part 1 about voting and the importance of it and some of the barriers that people with disabilities face in voting, as well as some of the accommodations that are out there to help that process along. To this episode, we're going to focus a little bit more on the actual organization, Iowa Disability Votes Count. And Reyma, I know you talked a little bit about it when we were together the first time, but if you could just refresh our memories on what Iowa Disability Votes Count is and how it got started.
Sure. So Iowa Disability Votes Count is a nonpartisan 501c3. We formed Iowa Disability Votes Count earlier this year. And it really was the result of several of us with disabilities who went to the Capitol for several different rallies around Medicaid privatization, coming together and having conversation about what is the most logical next step. What should we do to work with the momentum that has been gained with regards to some of the frustration that people with disabilities have felt about Medicaid privatization and its impact on their health care. We have over 450,000 people with disabilities in the state of Iowa who are on Medicaid, and 315,000 people in the state of Iowa who are eligible to vote and also experience a disability. And so a huge number of Medicaid members who can and should be voting. And so Iowa Disability Votes Count recognizes that not enough of those folks are voting, and definitely should be a part of the political process. So,
does this group provide a little training to new voters, how to vote, what to look for?
our focus is less on training and more on connecting, connecting people to the process and to candidates and elected officials. There are certainly wonderful training resources available in the state, and we feel that our focus is more on the connecting people with people. And so we are very happy to refer individuals who would like to have a formalized training to some of the resources that offer that in the state.
Because I imagine there are voters out there that never voted, so they need to be refreshed.
Yes.
About the ballot.
Yes, yes. And one thing that is great in the state of Iowa is that local newspapers will publish a sample ballot prior to elections so that people can get a feel for what that ballot's going to look like once they receive it, either in mail or at the polling place. And so that's great. And a person can bring that sample ballot to the polling place as a guide to help them fill out their ballot.
I didn't. That's great.
Yes.
I know that, and I'm sure there are many other resources. I've had the opportunity to work a little bit with ID Action, and I know that they have a number of voting resources on their website, and
Yes.
I think even are available to go out, and at least in the past have gone out to different communities and just acquainted people with the process, and what the age and how you register, and some of those basic things that I guess we unfortunately take for granted until we discover how many people with disabilities are out there that haven't done that.
Exactly. And like we discussed during the first segment, one of the misconceptions about prospective voters with disabilities is that they can't vote because they have a disability. And so a lot of those conversations around the political process that are had with young people before they come of age and are eligible to vote, young people with disabilities are excluded from those. And so when an individual with a disability wants to engage with the political process for the first time, there can feel like there's a lot of ground to cover to make up for that lost time. And so certainly resources like ID Action, Disability Rights Iowa, and even our Secretary of State website can be a wealth of very helpful information to help navigate what can feel like a bit of a confusing process.
I think another piece, and you talked about it in the first segment about the support systems around people with disabilities oftentimes don't realize or don't even consider people with disabilities as legitimate voters. And I'll never forget, I have a friend here in Iowa City who happens to have an intellectual disability. And he is way more politically active than I am. I mean, he's out supporting candidates, and you ask him why, and he has very, very good reasons why he supports. So when I was explaining, at that time we were doing some advocacy training for a grant, and I was trying to explain to my sister what we were doing. And I explained that there was a voter rights training as a part of that curriculum. And she said, "Now wait a minute, aren't you working with intellectual disabilities?" And I said, "Yeah." And so then I said, "Okay." So I turned around to my parents, who were not very active politically, and I said, "Why are you voting for?" I knew who they were voting for. And he looks good on TV. And then I said, "Well, I can tell you why my friend here in Iowa City is voting for who he's voting for, and it's because," and I listed, that he has views on a particular issue, and he supports a program that my friend liked, and so forth. And I said, you really have to think about people as not just about their disability, but even if somebody has a disability, they have interests and things they want to support, just like anyone else. And I think that was kind of an education piece for everyone in that car that day. So
yeah, I think that it's incredibly important for those of us who do the work that we do to be diligent in delivering the message that people with disabilities, people with intellectual disabilities included, are citizens, and as such should be able to participate in every process that all citizens participate in. So,
What do you think? Not only physical barriers, but intellectual barriers, meaning that people with disabilities have been overlooked so long that they just don't take an interest in voting.
I think that, as is the case with all of us, when we are not involved with something for long periods of time, our lack of understanding of it as a result of being excluded from the process for so long, can feel like a lack of interest, but how can you be interested or not interested in something that you've never experienced?
Right, that's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to get at.
Yeah. And so the important piece is getting people aware of the political process. Getting children aware of the political process, all children, but especially children with disabilities, and not making the decision for them, well, this child has an intellectual disability, this isn't something they never need to be involved in. And also we need to think seriously about the services that are provided to people with disabilities, especially people with intellectual disabilities, especially if that service provider is talking about client independence in a prominent fashion.
Yeah.
Because if they're talking about client independence, they need to be supporting their clients to register to vote.
Yes.
Client independence to me is about much more than supporting a client to go bowling on Thursday night.
Amen.
And so that is also a very important piece, and it would make me incredibly happy if in the future service providers who speak about independence incorporate supporting their clients to participate in the political process at every available opportunity. It's very possible for service providers to do that and remain nonpartisan. And what I hear from a lot of service providers is, oh, well, we can't do that because it's partisan. No, service providers need to be educated too on how to support their clients in this incredibly meaningful manner. Obviously, we service providers can't endorse candidates or coerce our clients to vote for anybody in particular, but we can still support that client in a very meaningful manner to participate in the process and maintain nonpartisanship. And it should be our responsibility to do that. And so,
I agree, and I think that there are many, many ways of doing that, and you know, we have so many opportunities for people to get educated about the candidates now, and about the process and about the parties. And I wanted to, you mentioned earlier that part of what Iowa Disability Votes Count is all about is connecting people with the voters and with opportunities. I know that you have done some outreach just because I've seen it on different listservs and so forth. Could you talk a little bit about some of the activities that you've already done with Disability Votes Count?
We have done town halls throughout the state of Iowa, and with those town halls, partnered with Disability Rights Iowa to have presentations that focus on voter rights, caucus accessibility, and the importance of participating at every available opportunity that is presented to vote, including the primary. It is an issue in our society, low participation in primary elections. And oftentimes that primary elections can be incredibly pivotal opportunities to participate in the political process. And so we organized town halls the week before the Iowa primary with the hopes of mobilizing voters with disabilities to vote. And those town halls were very successful. We were very fortunate to have the attendance not only of large number of voters with disabilities, but also candidates. And I can tell you from my personal experience, in previous election years, I would reach out to candidates with regards to attending an event that I was coordinating, and I would be lucky if one showed up. At each of our town halls, there were at least 10. At our town hall in Cedar Rapids, there were, I believe, 15 candidates that showed up. And so that's really powerful for voters with disabilities to see, because it sends a message to us that, okay, they're seeing that we matter, and that can be motivation for many people to get registered, to get out there and vote. And so we had our town halls. We also were very fortunate to participate in Voters with Disabilities Week. And with Iowa Disability Votes Count, we were one of 4 states in the country that had a governor's proclamation that recognized at the state level National Voters with Disabilities Week. And so we were able to meet with Governor Branstad and bring a group of 30 individuals with us to watch that proclamation signing. And that was really powerful for everyone in attendance. And we had elected officials that attended. We had several Miss Wheelchair Iowas that participated in that, and it was a great event at the Capitol. On September 17th, we are designating that Saturday as Early Voters with Disabilities Day. And what we're asking everyone is to support at least one person to fill out an absentee ballot request form and make sure that that gets in the mail. And then follow up with that voter with a disability, make sure that they get that ballot, and make sure that they fill it out and get it in the mail in a timely manner. Now, obviously, we can support more than one person to early vote, and if you are a person who lives near a group home or an assisted living facility, and you know that there are a number of voters that are living there, we highly encourage you to reach out and support as many people as possible to fill out an absentee ballot request form. We really want to get as many voters who experience barriers to going to their polling place educated about the absentee ballot as an option for them. And so those are our big initiatives prior to Election Day. We've also got we've got a few forums scheduled at local colleges, well, at least local to Des Moines, including Simpson College at the end of the month. And then we will also be hosting a webinar in partnership with the Brain Injury Alliance of Iowa in October.
It's pretty amazing considering you've been around for less than a year that you got all that stuff going.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wanted to ask if you, I'm really impressed that you had 15 candidates.
Yes.
Keith, I don't know if you, when you were working at A2I, if you guys did those forums, but I know that we did it at Illinois, Iowa, and like you said, you know, you were, I think one time maybe we had 3 or 4 candidates show up, and we were all excited about that.
Yes.
So I'm curious how you managed to, what you think some of the factors that went into getting that many candidates there.
I'm very amazed at that because when we started the Independent Living Center here and we went to the Capitol to lobby, people would look at us like, what?
Yes, yes, yes. We've a lot of ground has been covered.
Yes.
Thanks to those of you who got the ball rolling, and there's still a lot of ground to be covered.
Yes.
Certainly, I think that we have been very diligent in really hammering away at the message that we are the largest minority group in the state. We are the largest constituency of minority voters in the state. We have several elections that are very hotly contested in the state this year. Every vote counts. And I think that for whatever reason, the stars have aligned in 2016 and candidates are hearing that. And it's important to point out that candidate participation at our events has been nonpartisan. It's been individuals from both sides of the aisles, and we're working really hard to connect with our libertarian candidates and our Green Party candidates as well.
Oh, that's good. What are some of the ways that you're publicizing these events?
Well, we're pretty 21st century in our grassroots initiative, and so Facebook is our primary means of marketing what it is that we do, and has proven to be a pretty effective tool for us. We have a shoestring budget And so we are very grassroots in our initiative, and Facebook offers us a platform at no
yeah.
cost.
So you have a Facebook page, like a group page that people can join?
We do, and it's Iowa Disability Votes Count is the name of the page, and in addition to the Facebook page, we have our board of directors for Iowa Disability Votes Count. We are located throughout the state of Iowa and are very diligent in reaching out to people by phone, in person, by email. It's our passion, and we do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so we've got a team of people who are being very diligent about reaching out and delivering the important message about disability voters, and we're very pleased with the success that we've experienced in a short period of time.
Is your Facebook page, I don't want to put you on the spot,
No.
maybe you'll know this, but I know that when you're getting a new organization up, and sometimes it's kind of hard to remember who's where, but if people wanted to reach out to a board member that might be in eastern Iowa, like Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, Davenport, whatever, are those board members listed on your Facebook page, or how would they contact you, or would they post a message? What's the best way for people that wanted to get in touch with Disability Votes Count?
It's
here?
as simple as sending us a message through our Iowa Disability Votes Count Facebook page.
Okay.
All of us board members are admins of the page.
Oh, great.
And so
Okay.
we all are able to read the messages.
Great.
Yeah.
Now, this year, like you had said before in the first episode, this election really counts.
Yes. Yeah.
Not only on the presidential level, the
No.
local level.
No, the local level as well.
Yes.
And that's our mission at Iowa Disability Votes. It's to mobilize Iowa's largest minority group to participate in the political process at every available opportunity. And so every election is incredibly important for people with disabilities. Of course, the presidential election is important, but the federal, state,
Yeah.
local elections are important as well. School board elections are
Oh, yeah.
important. How many young people go to public school and experience disabilities? We've got to be communicating with our elected officials at that school board level as well. City,
Even-
county supervisor positions,
Yeah,
everything. Yeah, it all matters.
Have you had any success? I know that in my county, and actually I've been able to develop a bit of a relationship with here in Johnson County, and then in the past I was fortunate enough to be involved with doing some training through the ISAC, Iowa State Association of Counties, County Auditors Division. And I've been quite impressed by, typically anyway, how helpful county auditors are in whether it would be to set up a mock voting day, or have you had the opportunity yet to interface with auditors from some parts of the state?
I have. I've interfaced with auditors, and I've also interfaced with staff from the Secretary of State's office. And everyone has been so helpful. We had Cindy Olson with the Secretary of State office attend our Des Moines town hall in May, and she was a wealth of information for attendees. Our county level auditors and our Secretary of State's office have been very they've let it be known to us that they're fully on board with our mission, vision, values, and want to do what they can to support those.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
What's a win-win situation for everyone, and to get people with disabilities out voting, and I think that that auditors, sometimes just. I think that part of what you're doing and such a good job of is just bringing the issue to light. And I mean, I know that, like you said, earlier on, you said getting beyond the pamphlets and the handouts. It's all about if we're going to really bring the turnout up, it's about connecting with all the stakeholders involved.
Yes.
Not just the people, not just handing out a pamphlet to somebody.
Exactly. And if we think about any other means of any other time that we are communicating with each other, it's always that person-to-person contact that's most powerful. Handouts only go so far. And for something that's as important as voting, we've got to do something besides handouts with regards to voters with disabilities, because I think everyone recognizes that voters with disabilities have, for whatever reason, been excluded for far too long. And so the solution isn't a handout. The handout is part of the solution, certainly, but it's also that person-to-person contact, the connecting of stakeholders, having conversations like the conversation that we're having now, and knowing that one conversation is not going to be enough. This is an ongoing conversation that's going to be had for years to come.
Does this group work with the actual polling people when they go to vote?
Unfortunately, we are so small right now that we don't really have the infrastructure to have an Iowa Disability Votes Count person at every polling place.
That'd be nice.
But fortunately, we've had several people reach out to us and ask us what can they do to support us on Election Day. And our message to everyone is, where's your polling place?
Yeah.
Would you be willing to kind of hang out there for a little while? If you happen to notice someone entering the polling place who's experiencing challenges, would you be able to assist them? So we will have presence at some polling places, not all of them. I wish we could, but
such is the life of a grassroots nonprofit.
right.
Maybe in the future.
Maybe in the
It
future.
would be helpful
Yes.
to
Yes.
get those people
Yes.
in a classroom and say, this is how it goes.
I think it would be helpful. And another thing that we would like to see in the future are polls of people with disabilities. That's not something that's currently done, really. We want people with disabilities to factor into the polls that occur with regards to elections and candidates, and capture really important information about voters with disabilities in that way, so that we can present that to candidates and give them that hard data so that they can have that to add to their understanding of again, this constituency of very important voters.
3 minutes.
What are I'm hoping, and now that I hear that you're a 501c3, I'm guessing that your work is going to go on, keeping on right after the election, right?
Absolutely. I have what I like to say are 2 different kinds of conversations with people. The first kind is the pre-November 8th conversation, and that conversation's all about, okay, what can we do to mobilize people today to vote? And then I have what I call the November 9th conversations, which are, okay, what can we learn from this particular election that will help us in the next upcoming elections? And so the Iowa Disability Votes Count is not going to disappear on November 9th. We're going to take everything that we've learned up to November 8th and use that to further mobilize voters with disabilities.
That's great. Glad to hear that. Go ahead.
It's like building on a foundation.
Yes.
Once you have a good foundation,
Yes.
you can proceed.
And what a year to set an infrastructure for an organization like Iowa Disability Votes Count.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, we're coming to the end of our time together here. Do you have any final thoughts, anything that we haven't touched upon yet that you'd like to share?
I think I just have to be a broken record, and to voters with disabilities who are listening, just know that your vote counts, and to candidates with who are wanting to be elected, know that disability votes count. And I think my final thought to share is that people with disabilities need to recognize that our vote should be earned just like everybody else's vote. And I think that the hard work that all of us in the disability rights movement have done with regards to garnering the attention of candidates, sometimes we've felt like we need to do what we can to I guess, please candidates or earn their time, that kind of thing. And really, it's the opposite. Our message to candidates should be, why do you deserve my vote?
Yes.
Not, why do I deserve your time?
Yes.
That I think is a key component to shifting the paradigm.
Oh, yeah.
And with 315,000 of us in this state having the power to vote, if we choose to exercise it, candidates will hear that loud and clear.
Well, and your Iowa Disability Votes Count is sure doing your part to get that 315,000 mobilized. And we, as a person with a disability, I want to thank you personally for doing that.
Well, and I thank you for allowing me to be on the show today.
And thank you for coming.
Thank
a
you.
long way.
Thank you.
And thanks to all the viewers out there for listening, and tune in again next week.
Have a good week out there.